And welcome back to the hot stage. So kind of like we spoke about Elfyn Evans and why he didn't win the championship, Kalle Rovanpera's co-driver has come out and made some suggestions. You can probably guess in the thumbnail it's to do with those four black things that touch the ground and are oh so very important. Yes, you've guessed it, the tyres. So we're going to get into some really nerdy tyre talk in a bit, trying to explain why the tyres this year were different from the Pirellis and why, for example, Kalle Rovanperä struggled so much. But let's get into this article first by Hankook. I probably got the pronunciation wrong, I apologise. But he spoke plainly as from rallyjournal.com why Kalle did not win the championship, and he basically alludes to the fact that it was the tyres. And as we know, Kalle came very close to winning his third championship. And Rovanperä drove what is at least for now his final season. As we know, I think he'll be back personally. Rovanperä still had a chance at the title as we got to Saudi Arabia, albeit it was an outside chance. As we know, in the end, it was Seb Ogier and Elfyn Evans that finished first and seconds. And it says here, and I think this is quite interesting, that Rovanpera's season included many different phases. The Finnish driver in particular, they're talking about how he had difficulties early in the season adapting to, yeah, you guessed it, those Hankook tyres. Rovanperä won Rally Isles Canaries in what was a dominant fashion, but especially on gravel events, he struggled with his own driving style. I mean, it was very commonplace for Kalle Rovanperä to complain about the tyres, and it was quite obvious because we have one of the best rally drivers of the generation struggling, and because of the tyres. Now you could maybe critique the fact that Kalle Rovanperä should have adapted, should have drove round it. It's easy for us to say, isn't it, from my desk, keyboard warriors, etc. But it says here, towards the end of the season, Rovanperä was able to improve his pace on gravel as well, and in the August he re-entered that title fight. In particular, finally winning his home rally a la Rally Finland. So absolutely fantastic for Kalle Rovanperä. But Hankook and his co-driver said, I have a very simple reason for why we didn't win the championship. And I want to stress, this is not an excuse. He said the reason was purely the change of tyre brand for this year. It suited many drivers much better than, for example, Kalle, he said. If you have a natural driving style and then a new product comes along, it's quite difficult to change that natural style. That is the single biggest reason why we didn't win the championship, he says bluntly. Obviously I find it hard, as a non-rally driver or a massive rally fan, I find it hard obviously to understand exactly how that must feel. I guess it's similar to, okay, now you can, if you're right-handed, now you can only draw and write with your left hand, and you think, oh my gosh, it feels so weird, I can do it, but I can't do it as well. Now, Rovanperä effectively dropped out in the title fight for good, and let's be fair, in South America. The Finns suffered punctures in both Chile and Paraguay. What could have been? And another clear reason is that we suffered 16 or 17 punctures during the season. He said, his co-driver said, which is, and yeah, he's right, absolutely an unreasonable amount, especially when we compare to how many punctures, for example, on average, each driver had with the Pirellis. Hankook also wanted to underline that Rovanpera's driving skills had not gone anywhere. And he said, last year we took part in 7 rallies, and I think we led every single one of them, or won them. Yeah, they did. He did amazing. He said, if we didn't win, we retired from the lead. We retired from the lead at Rally Finland, from the lead at Rally Portugal. All the others, we won. And that's a massive point. Surely your skills don't change that much year from year. During the Finnish season, there were also assessments suggesting Rovanperä somehow lost his motivation for rallying. But then this co-driver comes back and says some people talk such nonsense that Kalle's motivation speed had disappeared. They don't just disappear with a guy like that. On the contrary, the motivation was at its absolute peak because Kalle probably knew for quite a long time that this would be his final season. He fires back. Hankook tyres, though, were in any case the single biggest topic and the most talked about when you look at Kalle Rovanperä. And he said the tyre was simply so different, you can always speculate, of course. Some can learn the tyre faster, and that is certainly true. But he's talking about the fact that they struggled, especially early in the season, and we kind of saw that, didn't we? We couldn't find any pace at all. Then we came to the Canary Islands, and suddenly the tyre suited Kalle's driving style in those asphalt conditions, and then he was absolutely crushing it. And they're talking about Rally Estonia, which Calais previously been able to win, in my opinion, quite easily. This year we weren't even on the podium. So yeah, the tyres. Now let's talk those tyres. The tyre issues. The WRC tyre explained. So we're now going to talk absolute nerdy tyre stuff. Now when you look at the technical differences between Pirelli and Hankook, we've looked at things like the Pirelli Newsroom, Hankook Motorsports, Dirtfish, and other news sources. Now, the Pirelli messaging, I mean, let's be fair, they were peak rally tyres in 2024. They had all that experience, unlike Hankook. Yeah, you can test, but until you actually, testing is different, but until you actually go into competition where, let's be fair, when you're driving in anger, it's not like testing. And Pirelli's messaging emphasised that, they learned all that versatility, the robustness. Pirelli described its Monte Carlo 2024 range, if we go back a year, as reliable and versatile, which they absolutely were, and highlighted what was a more robust and resistant construction. Remember, they'd been doing this for years. The Safari Rough Gravel, Pirelli explicitly noted additional reinforcement. Now, we fast forward to Hankook in 2024. They lean heavily into impact resistance, wear resistance, safety and durability. That at least was coming out of Hankook, talking about their shock absorbent, their high wear, but as we know, they did have more punctures. Dirtfish reportedly quotes Hankook Motorsport director, stressing that safety is most important and that a controlled tyre will not satisfy anyone. So yeah, they did have more punctures, but then it is their first year. Now, in spite, and this always sounds hypocritical of more punctures, did they maybe play it too safe, which is why Calais Rovanperä had difficulties. When you look at their compound range and their intended operating window, Pirelli obviously, I feel, had a much bigger operating window. Hankook, potentially not so much. So a tyre with a narrower sweet spot, for example, which I think Hankook has done, when you're looking at temperature and load, is going to punish anyone who likes to lean on a tyre hard early in that stage, for example. A tyre that rewards a smoother energy input tends to suit drivers that naturally flow, and everyone has different driving styles. Now, when you look, sidewall stiffness can make a massive difference, and that can affect, for example, your steering response and how good that steering is. Now, Pirelli repeatedly pointed to their sidewall reinforcement as a key feature when it comes to rough gravel. OJ, for example, after a puncture in Sardinia, he indeed praised them, saying Pirelli did a good job, improved a lot, on a good level now. Now, when we look at Hankook, yeah, they had an outer, they don't want to make a bad tyre, but once again, when it comes down to all that experience, it wasn't the case. But let's look then at why some drivers struggled on the Hankook. So Rovanpera's core issue is what we're saying, and what his co-driver said, is the tyre did not match his natural technique. Now, across multiple interviews, that is essentially the theme. I mean, even when we look at Dirtfish back in February, Rovanperä said it doesn't suit my driving style so well, and he adds he can't be as aggressive on steering, and that braking entry approach is quite different. If you've been doing that for years, you're confident of that, you need to be confident in the tyre and in the car. Let's be fair, these rally drivers are thinking, okay, if I get this wrong, I'm going down a cliff. So absolutely, you've got to be confident. Now, in Autosport, in January, so the driving style that I normally have doesn't work with the slick tyre. Talking, potentially about Monte Carlo. Now, Rovanperä, as we know, he's known for his precision aggression in those rotation phases. He's normally very good when you look at it on low grip. But that's if, and once again, you're going to have to rely on those tyres. If the tyre is smoother, and with that, I mean, you have smoother steering, maybe less bite from those sharp inputs, it demands different, the brakes are going to feel different as well. And it felt that the Hankook was slightly more inconsistent across different surfaces. Dirtfish, for example, noted that Rovanperä could be dominant on Hankook's asphalt tyre while still struggling on gravel for much of the season, as an example. Now, when we look, my mistake, I've absolutely lost where I am. There we go. So when we look at driving styles, based on what Rovanperä described, his steering aggression, braking entry, Hankook's own not for everyone framing. Now, yeah, I appreciate that might be some kind of like marketing get out clause, but it's less effective. Drivers that have a naturally rounder flowing style, who keep the car in a keep the car stable and a stable slip angle. I told you it's going to be nerdy. And when you're doing that, when you are flowing a bit more, you naturally avoid escalating those tyre temperatures. Now, drivers whose baseline approach is maybe somewhat gentler on initial steering. Rovanperä saying he had to become less aggressive, but once again, that is his driving style. Now, also, we can look at car setup. The directions, that really can also change a tyre. If the tyre sweet spot is picky, teams potentially might chase front end response without overheating the tyre. But when you're not happy with the tyre and you're not happy with it, unless you get the setup absolutely right, it always feels like you're going to make a compromise. And I feel that's what Rovanperä very much did throughout 2025. Now, driver feedback and the comparisons by 2024, even a historical vocal critic like Ogier was praising Pirelli's success, as we've seen. That's typical of what is going to be a mature tyre. Hankook, they're early in their supply. I mean, even Formosa said the tyre said the slick tyres are good, happy with the winter tyre, needs a little improvement. Rovanperä, as we know early on, spoke about positively gathering important information, and that information is going to be key for developing those tyres. Nouvel's frustration peaked around the reliability and the robustness of the tyres, and this was around the Rally of Greece and Acropolis, including reference to sidewall and mounting related issues. And it appears that, Saudi Arabia was a different fish entirely, but those problems probably didn't really go away. So Autosport's season summary notes about Rovanperä said he looked unusually lost for large parts of the season, but when he did gel with the rubber, he was untouchable. He was back to Rovanperä 23-24. Now, the clearest adaptation moment came after the Isla Canaris, where Rovanperä said the team found ideas and a way to go with the car with his new tyres. Was it too little, too late? Probably not, but it was those punctures in the South American phase, Paraguay and Chile, that really, as we know, completely stopped that championship. So Hankook's first control tyre year appears to have been rewarded. They precision, smooth load management, people are saying, but you need to have the right car balance, and you have to wonder, is that also the reason why Hyundai struggled so much? But as 2025 progressed, adaptation improved through setup learning when you look at Rovanperä and the way he set up that car, and he had to change his driving technique. So I think absolutely Rovanperä absolutely has a point in the sense that, yes, Kalle Rovanperä's championship was very much affected by those tyres. This is definitely New Year's Eve. So happy New Year's Eve, happy New Year if you're watching this tomorrow or onwards. If you made it to the end, give us a subscribe. This is going to be our last rally video of the year, obviously. But until then, we'll speak again soon. Thank you very much. Stay safe, but also stay sideways.